Hiya. So I want to challenge this notion that you've got to eat what everyone else is eating, especially now we're coming into the Christmas period and you're going to be dining out at restaurants and going to Christmas parties and going to people's houses, and people are going to be coming to your house and so on. You're going to be dining with other people, and you need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared to say no, to set some boundaries. Okay, and it doesn't mean that you're being difficult. It doesn't mean that you're being awkward. It doesn't mean that you're a terrible person. And it's not that you're judging what other people are eating, but you've made some decisions for yourself. You've made a really important decision for yourself, and that is to improve your health. And what you don't want is other people's requests of you to go snowballing over the top of the decisions that you've made for yourself. Okay, so let's have a look at some different options that you've got. So for example, you might be going to a Christmas party, you might be going to a restaurant, and some sort of, external party is doing the catering. So it's not one of your friends that's catering, it's a restaurant, okay? They are so used to people being gluten-free, being vegan, they don't eat this, they don't eat that, they're lactose intolerant. Restaurants are used to that, they are so used to it. And if you come across a restaurant that hasn't heard of keto, I'll eat my hat, seriously. Every restaurant is going to have heard of keto, okay? Now, that's not to say that you have to come in, hand your coat over at 7:30 and say, by the way, I don't eat seed oils or potatoes. What you want to be doing is letting them know in advance, okay? So if someone else is organising this, then I'm sure they will have said, let us know if anybody's got any dietary requirements. That's your key. Now, what you don't want to be saying is, I'm on a diet or I'm on a keto diet. You just want to be very specific. I'm avoiding carbohydrates and I'm avoiding seed oils. Okay, now if they then come back to you and go, well, what are you going to eat then? Well, then you just tell them, you have a look at the menu and you say, well, I can eat this meat or I can eat this fish or, whatever they're having, and say, but I just don't want the potatoes, I don't want the rice, I don't want the whatever, pasta and the bread and so on, but I'll have some, extra salad and that kind of thing. Ask them if they are going to be preparing food with seed oils, with vegetable oils, and say that you don't have them because they're inflammatory. It's not something that you eat, and but you'd be perfectly happy for it to be grilled or with no oil, or cooked in like butter, for example. So that's one thing, but you do have to let them know in advance, okay? Let them just turn up on the night and start, that would just annoy everybody and it's not appropriate. But you can let them know in advance, it's perfectly okay to do that. Now, if you're going to a friend's house or a family member's house, there are going to be some friends and family members that are fully on board, they're very kind, like, yeah, absolutely, yeah, what do you want me to make you something special? Like, what do you want to do? And then there are these other people that maybe you don't feel so close to. Maybe they're spouses, family members, or people that you're not especially close to, but, you're obliged for whatever reason to go along to the party. Well, there's a possibility then for you to perhaps take a dish with you. I never recommend just turning up with a dish because people can get quite offended by that. If you just let them know in advance, though, say, hi, I'm following a particular diet for health reasons. Don't say that you're on a diet. Tell them it's for health reasons, and that'll click in their mind then that it's important that you don't eat. You're not just being fussy, okay? Because I know that's probably the thing, is I don't want people thinking I'm being fussy or I'm being difficult. But if you tell them it's for health reasons, and it is, isn't it? It's for health reasons, then they're less likely to sort of, for their mind to go down that route of you being difficult or fussy or whatever. But you can certainly get in touch with the host in advance, like plenty of time in advance, not just the day before or the morning of or whatever, but at least a week in advance, to give them time to prepare and say to them, I'm following a particular diet for health reasons. I just wanted to ask, what have you got any idea yet what you're going to be preparing, and would you like me to bring something? I'd be very happy to bring something. I can bring a dessert, or I can bring, you know, a platter or whatever. Another thing is to turn up not starving, and then you're not tempted by everything that's on the table. It's okay to leave a few things on your plate. You do not have to finish your plate. You can eat as much or as little as you like, and if you turn up and you've had a little bit of something before you go, I'm not saying you should be full when you turn up. That would be weird if you didn't eat anything at all. But just make sure that you've had a little bit of something to eat before you go, so that you're not absolutely ravenous and you don't see the food on the table and then you just want to scarf it all down. And yeah, the other thing I wanted to mention was if you were taking care of a child or an elderly person, okay, and it was your responsibility to make sure that this person was eating, and other people were wanting to give this person something that you knew would make them sick, it would derail their health, would you let them have it? Well, you wouldn't, would you? I mean, you'd be crazy. You'd be like, no. And what if that person that was giving it might be a little bit offended or a little bit hurt? Would you still get that child or the elderly person to eat it if you knew it was going to make them sick? No, of course you wouldn't, because you're responsible for them. Now, who's responsible for your health? It's not anybody else, it's you. And so you have to be firm and set that boundary. And if somebody else is going to be a little bit offended, or they don't really understand, or they think you're a bit weird, so what? So what? The most important thing is your health. Okay, you have to set that boundary in the same way that you wouldn't have anybody else telling you what to wear, what time to wake up in the morning, what time to go to bed. Don't have anybody else telling you what you should be eating. You make that decision, and you stand firm and stand strong in that. And that doesn't make you difficult, doesn't make you awkward, as long as you're prepared with it, as long as you're giving the right message, it's for my health, and you're telling people in advance.